Hello and welcome to this episode of the Trucking Tower podcast. We are excited to have with us today Marina Ivanov. Marina is the operations manager and founding member of Apex Transit LLC in Charlotte, North Carolina. Great to have you with us here today, Marina.
Thank you, Eva. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, we've got an excellent topic to bring to you guys today. It's the fight for better trucking legislation, which is going to be a very exciting topic because Marina's got some hands-on experience here, and we're excited for her to share that. So before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to our podcast sponsor today, Cyberfuels. If you're looking to save 25 cents to 95 cents per gallon of diesel while improving engine performance and uptime, lowering emissions, and saving time and money, be sure to click on the link below. So, Marina, you and I met last month at the North Carolina LTL, or League of Transportation and Logistics, in Charlotte at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, and it was a great spring meeting. So I was so thankful that you and I ran into each other because Warren Boger, I want to give him a shout out for introducing us. He's with CK Freight Solutions. But yeah, it was awesome meeting you there.
Thank you. It was great to meet you too. So glad we got in contact and enjoyed all the conversations we've had and looking forward to having this one.
Yeah, I love the face-to-face networking. There's a real unique and respectful place for that as well in LinkedIn and other networking sites. But the face-to-face, I have missed it. And I'm so glad that there are organizations in our region where we can get involved with supply chain networking this way. So love the NCTA, and you're going to go to the summer meeting, correct, in Myrtle Beach?
Yes. That'll be my first time going to that one.
Today, I want to talk to you about something you shared with me the other day. You told me that you have been to Washington, D.C., you've gone to Raleigh, you've been advocating for trucker legislation because you work as a legislative committee member for the NCTA Women in Trucking Association and the North Carolina Truckers Association Advisory Committee. And you're also helping to regulate harmful versus helpful legislation for trucking. And I'd love for you to share what you were sharing with me the other day and why you're doing this and how you're doing this and what it's actually doing for our industry.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eva. Yes, so we got invited in 2018 to join the North Carolina Trucking Association, and I had some doubts. I wasn't sure if it was going to be helpful to us. I didn't see the need for it, but was intrigued and got invited to go to the 2019 call in Washington, and really didn't think I was going to make much of a difference, but wanted to see what the whole thing was about. I'm a very curious person, so I just followed my curiosity, and it led me to my passion, which is the legislative work for our industry. I love this industry and what it's done for me and my family, and I want to preserve it. And there's a lot of laws out there or bills that are going to be harmful to our industry, or things that we can do to promote, to help. And I've gotten really involved. And the interesting thing is you don't really have to do a lot of digging and doing things yourself. Just being involved with the NCTA, they kind of do the research for you. And they said, we need people to help us tell this story. And so by going on to Washington, we meet with our representatives. So we tell them, here's a bill that's coming up that's actually going to be harmful for us. And here's why. And you can share your story. Or here's a bill that's going to help us. Please support it. One of the things that we're tackling right now is to get more infrastructure funding for truck parking. And no one really cares outside of our industry about truck parking. It's not pretty. They want more bike lanes and more flowers on the highway. That's the beautiful things that most people see, but people don't understand how difficult it is to find truck parking right now, and how that each driver can, on a daily basis, maybe spend 55 minutes looking for parking, and that's the wasted emissions, fuel, time, productivity loss. It's a huge issue for us in our industry, and not to mention it is an issue of safety concern, especially for us wanting to bring more women in the industry. It has grown. We bring more and more women drivers, but it's still like, it's hard to promote that and tell them, yes, and you're going to have to park on the side of the road and use that your restroom that way, or your restrooms or your rest areas aren't going to be well lit, or they're going to be in an area that's not safe. So that's what we do, is we promote more funding to be attributed to those causes. That's one of the issues that's really near and dear to my heart, because I actually grew up with my dad, who was owner operator. And I would drive with him over the summer. Told myself I never want to be in this industry. It's too stressful. I remember even back then, I don't even know how many years, maybe 15 years ago, that he couldn't, more
Wow.
than that actually, he couldn't find parking, and how stressful that was for him when we were driving, and that, it wasn't always safe. So that's why I do what I do. Another issue that we have are just tax bills that are coming through that could hurt our industry financially, with rising costs, operation costs right now. It's tough. It's been tough for the last year for a lot of small trucking companies, and we're medium sized, and we have the ability to negotiate some better discounts with the fuel providers. But a lot of the smaller trucking companies are being hit with so many different increases, and everything from operating cost increases to, one of the things going back to the bills and legislative committee is this House bill that's being passed right now in North Carolina that's being discussed, of increasing or removing the cap for the vehicle registration tax. And that right now is at $2,000. And if they remove that cap, it's going to be $6,000. Just to compare, our South Carolina, it's $500 is the vehicle registration tax. And in Virginia, it's $10. But we don't have the option to go to Virginia or South Carolina. Some of the bigger companies do. We are in North Carolina, so that our fees would jump from $2,000 to $6,000. That's a huge increase in addition to everything else that's coming out. So as part of the work that we've been doing with the North Carolina Trucking Association, we hosted a call in Raleigh where 36 women showed up and spoke with Senator Murdoch and Senator Sawyer, and we shared our stories. And I shared how that would impact us, and all the increasing rising costs that we're dealing with, and the safety concerns. And just recently I heard back from Ben Greenberg, who is our president, that those kind of stories, sharing those kind of stories and other events actually had an impact. And at the recent committee meeting, this was mentioned. This my story and our meeting was mentioned to the committee, and they're considering removing that portion of the bill out. And that's huge for me. That's really exciting, considering that, from an immigrant family, I didn't think that just one person could make a difference. And I'm seeing how just everybody getting involved can really make a big difference.
That's
Anyway,
so
that's
great.
that
Yeah,
question.
I love that. That just makes me smile ear to ear because, we sometimes we don't think that we can make that difference. And here you are, just because of your love for the industry, taking on things like this, even though you're busy running this thriving company, you're thinking of other companies as well. So first of all, thank you for doing this. And thank you for all the other members that are taking part in this. But is there a way for other people to know more about this or to get involved in that fee that you're talking about?
Absolutely. There's so many great events with the NCTA and CLTL as well, that you just, if you're working in the trucking industry, ask your supervisors to be like, hey, I'd like to join this event. There's the Women in Trucking events that we have going on. There's the safety councils, and just being involved and asking, how can I help? Like, this is going to hurt my industry, is going to hurt me. How can I help prevent this not happening? So just reaching out to the NCTA, probably your first stop. I would recommend them. And I just, wanted to piggyback on what you said about, working for the industry, I love the trucking industry. It is just one of those places where I don't have a logistics degree. I was actually a dental hygienist for 7 years, and my husband was a general contractor, and we started this from scratch. From not knowing anything about it, learning everything from all the resources that are out there. There are great, and NATME Institute and Folly was one of the first places that I reached out to and figured out what a DQ file is just by watching some YouTube videos, and then going into the FMCSA and reading that giant, there. But there's enough pie for everyone. This is a big pie. There's enough for everyone. And the industry is made up of 97% 1 to 5 trucks companies. So we're the little guys, and they don't really have the time to lobby for us. They're out there like I was, doing the payroll, looking for the freight, and just running the operation as much as they can. And at this industry right now, where a lot of them are just trying to survive. And hope to be the voice, at this point of the stage where we're at now. We have about 60 trucks and 100 trailers. We're still considered very medium, small size company, and hope to grow, but grow sustainably, and just continue and thrive in this industry.
That's amazing. You mentioned you got a response. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that from Raleigh? Like, what is next? Are they going to make any changes, or is it something that people can help and support you on at this point in Raleigh?
Absolutely. Just reach out to Senator Murdoch, and actually Senator Vicky Sawyer is the one who's spearheading the organization. She spoke to us, and it was a beautiful meeting about how there's an $8 billion deficit in this. We've promised all these new roads and expansion, and we need that, but we don't want to do it at the cost of smaller trucking companies. They're the ones who are going to pay the price. So that is one of those things that is on the chopping block that they're going to take away. And that's what I've been told. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I hope that's what actually will happen. So yes, please reach out to Senator Vicky Sawyer and tell them we need this cap, this portion of the bill where they're removing the vehicle tax cap. And I think it's Bill 364. Let me just double check.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We can post that in the notes in the description of this podcast. So anyone interested, you can take a look there. We'll make sure we have all the correct information for you to get involved, because my understanding and my experience has been that maybe you got some great feedback that it might be going away, but you got to make sure and keep pushing until it does. So I would encourage anyone.
354.
Yeah, 354, Bill 354. Okay, awesome. So I'm glad we've talked about that. So you came together with some people and took that on, and I thank you for that. And I would encourage, and maybe I think you as well would like to encourage other companies to, step into this a little bit, to keep fighting for the industry. It takes all of us. Our company, Trucking Tower, we have things that outside of ourselves that we get involved in because we love this industry too. As I told you, we want to be a blessing to many, many people. So I'm glad you shared that and some pathways for other companies to get involved in. And even if you're not in North Carolina, you might want to keep an eye on some things within your own state, correct?
Absolutely. Yes. There's always just getting involved with the state association is the first step, and they'll guide you along.
That's so great. And your grassroots startup. So just to kind of touch on that a little bit more, where are you from, and where are you guys moving at this point? You've gone from small size to a medium size. So you told me that you came from, where's your home country, and a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So I immigrated from Ukraine when I was 10 years old with my family. There's a large Slavic population here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, it's just, we see one person doing something, is successful. Everybody kind of, and trucking was one of those things, either trucking or construction or cars. Those are three industries that, we could take our hardworking work ethic, and build something with it. And just this would not be possible in the country where I'm from. I wouldn't be able to build this strong, this fast, and this much. Over 10 years, maybe some people don't think it's that fast, but to me it is, to grow to where we are sustainably. And, we are, the one thing I'm most proud of is driver retention. Now, obviously we're not perfect, we make mistakes, but we are currently, most of our trucks are full when there's a driver shortage. And it's just built because we built those relationships with the drivers.
The other day, you mentioned you guys tried very hard to be sustainable as well. So driver retention, sustainability efforts, that was really, that drew me in.
Absolutely. Tell me more. What do you mean by sustainable?
Just that you were trying to look at the future and making decisions that were in the best interest for, emissions reduction and doing the right things as you grow.
Absolutely. Yes. And one of that was by purchasing the newer equipment that has a lot with more safety features that has allowed us to grow and maintain a good safety score.
We share that mentality, in terms of, the margins and helping small to medium sized companies because they're being squeezed so much with every penny. So we love bringing solutions like fuel reduction and emissions reduction, and helping with driver compliance and things of that nature. So we are right on board with you. We love companies like you that are thinking ahead, and you're always trying to do the right things, even when it might take you a little bit more time to institute. and implement. But I know that you've been doing all the things you're doing with the right intentions and the right heart. So we just we think the world of your company.
Oh, thank you, Eva. I really appreciate you saying that, and that means a lot to me. Apex Transit is like my baby. I have two girls, and I've wanted to have a son, but right now this is my son, and it's growing and it's exciting when someone sees the hard work that we're putting into it. And it's just like, oh, they're proud. Like I'm proud of my baby, and I'm really grateful for what we have been able to achieve, which is provide stable jobs in the community and environment where people feel valued and appreciated. I think it's really important. And that's what we hope to grow. We hope to grow to and not just for the financial success, but also for the personal fulfillment that it gives me to know that we are providing great jobs in the community. And the trucking industry at times hasn't always had a good reputation, and I want to work on changing that image, because it is the most important industry. I feel like one of the most important industries in this country, because without the trucks you won't get the freight. And we saw a little bit of that in COVID, where everybody trucking were heroes, and I did not have a quarantine time. I was coming into my office, my drivers were coming into the office. I had to purchase a mask on the black market for $70, a little box. So I was just keeping out to all my drivers. I'm like, cherish this mask. So the mandates, everybody has to wear a mask. You couldn't get to the shippers without one. But, we are here. We're going to persist. We're going to keep going no matter what's going on. There's a little bit of an economic downturn right now. We've seen it before. We've survived it, and we're going to survive it again. And that's my message for all the trucking companies out there that might be struggling right now, is just don't give up, I guess. Don't give in to the pressures that are out there. Just keep going, do whatever it takes to survive. And it's easy to focus on the negatives of all the rising costs and the fuel and the market rates, or the driver shortage, or everything that we've been hit with this year. There's been so much, or the last 2 years, but it's also really important to look at those are the things that we can't really control. It's out of our control. And I love the serenity prayer for that reason, because that's like, God, give me the wisdom to know the difference. And what I can control is the ways that I can increase my service, increase my revenue. How can I save on fuel? How can we tighten up as a company, or how can we build better relationships so we can reduce the costs associated with driver turnover? So just really focusing on the things that you can control and staying positive throughout all of this. It's hard at times. It really is. It's easy to just dwell in like, oh my God, it's all going to hell. But have to stay positive, and eventually things will turn around. Eventually,
and we need to help each other. We have to. The supply chain is the essence. In Eva's view, it's the essence of our economy. We have to care and nurture it, care for it and nurture it, and we have to bring solutions and share those solutions whenever possible, as to as many places as we can. So thank you for this insight. Thank you for your words of wisdom and your encouragement. I'm so happy to see the way that you're involved in not only just women in trucking and helping us to grow into this space and really help and assist, but you're actually doing some really tangible work. So I'd love to continue to follow up with you on this and see how things are moving in that bill and other areas. And last question is, how can people get in touch with you? What are the best ways?
Absolutely. I am on LinkedIn, Marina Ivanov. And also we have an Instagram, Apex Transit, apextransitllc.com is our website. Please email me if you have any questions. And I'm always for the startups that have questions about operating costs, or I'm always happy to share things like the formula that I have found that was really helpful for determining operating costs. And I've spoken on a few panels with the NCTA and shared that, and be happy to share that as well. One of the things I did want to plug before we leave is the ATRI, the American Trucking Research Institute. They do a study every year, and it's I'm not sure if it's open right now for 2022, but reach out to them, and they can help you figure out how to create your data for trucking operation costs. So one of the things right now is that people are not understanding from 21 to 22, our costs have jumped up so dramatically, anywhere from 30 to 40%. And people are still operating in that, if I can get $2 a mile, that's great. And that's where the economy is showing, but that's not going to help anymore. It's really a lot higher than what we think it is. And being aware of it, tracking it, seeing where it is monthly, quarterly, and sharing that data with the ATRI, because they publish the report. They'll have a report in August for the data on 22, and it'll show us, and that's the data that we could use for our customers and tell them, like, listen, I know this is where the rate was before, but this is what our operating costs are. This is not just me telling you what it is, it's the average. We need to change, we need to be sustainable, and it's not sustainable for us to keep taking things freight at a loss, because that's how the little guys got out of business, the owner operators, who this was also their dream, to be their own, own their own business, and have sustainability in it. And it's really hard to see how it's a cycle. It's always like the supply and demand cycle works great sometimes, but it hurts a lot of people too in the process. And like I said, there's enough pie for everyone, and if we can all work together.
Well, you've offered some great solutions and some great ways to affect the bottom line and ease the pain of all this. Because listen, most companies today are involved because they love it. And if we can alleviate some of that pain, it'll keep this industry thriving and going in the right direction. But I love talking to you, and I love having you with us today. I'd love to maybe have you back again, just to maybe touch on these points and go a little further. But we really appreciate having you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Trucking Tower podcast. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you again very soon. Take care.